Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the podcast, The Key to Unlock Happiness. Of course, I'm your host, Donald E Archey, author, motivational speaker, and welcome to the ninth episode. We are so excited. Of course, we're broadcasting live here in the beautiful city of Miami. And if you guys get a chance to come down to Miami, come on down. The weather is absolutely gorgeous today. Not a cloud in the sky, about 85, 86 degrees. Come down and hang out with us on the beach, and we'll be able to put our toes in the sand. But welcome. For those of you that's been with us for the past 9 episodes of the podcast, thank you for tuning back in. Thank you for spreading the word. We certainly appreciate it. Now, for those of you that it's the first time visiting the podcast, welcome. We hope you sit back and enjoy the podcast. This is the key to unlock happiness, of course. When we first started this podcast, the goal was to go through the book chapter by chapter. We were under contract for 10 episodes of it. This is number 9, so we're excited about it. We're going to cover a lot today in the book, and then the final episode we'll do some things on the final episode. I think that'll be intriguing and interesting to both to everyone out there. Listen, if you haven't picked up your book, go right now to the website. That's Donald, D-O-N-A-L-D, Archey, A-R-C-H-E-Y, and .com. On the first page of the website, you're going to see where it says paperback, and then right next to it, it says ebook. Hit the ebook. And then you'll have it instantaneously. That way you'll be able to follow us, because I think we're going to be on chapter like 8 or 9, and you'll be able to go page by page. We're going to go through the end of the book pretty rapidly here, so definitely grab that book. I'll give you a few minutes here to grab it. For those of you that already have it, I'll let you know what page we're. I think we're going to be on chapter 8 down there. But before we get into this, into that, and thank you for some of the emails that's coming in. Wow. Getting some really good questions about the book, different chapters you guys are reading, some of the stories. I didn't really go through a lot of the stories on the podcast, but there's a lot of great stories, moving stories all throughout the book. And some of you are sending emails in asking about the stories, and I'm responding to you. So let's keep the vibe going, the communication through the emails. You can always reach me through the website, donaldarchey.com, and down there you can leave a message. And I'll respond back to you as I have been. So let's keep that going. But we're getting a lot of great questions, and I hope I'm able to answer some of them. Some of them I'll bring to the podcast, and we'll answer them on the podcast too. Now, just to do a little house cleaning, got some good news for you. We're going to be in Orlando. For those of you that's in the Orlando area, look forward to you coming. That's going to be August 31st. We're going to host a very intimate sit-down discussion at 6 o'clock. That's going to be at 6 o'clock. That's going to be at the Doubletree Hilton Hotel at the entrance of Universal in Orlando at 6 p.m. So write that down. We're looking forward to that. Now, this is a very intimate engagement. We're at the lounge there, and the topic of that's going to be Let's Talk. I need you to go, if you're going to be in the Orlando area, go to my website, donaldarchey.com, and register. Do that quickly, because this is a very limited amount of seats available. Just fill out the information on the website and register for that. So there's a little registration fee, because we're going to have dinner, and we'll be able to chit-chat. But that's going to be August 31st. You don't want to miss that. Like I said, it is a very intimate engagement. It's very limited seating. It's there in the lounge at the Doubletree Hotel there at the entrance of Universal. So I want to see you there. Now, the very next day, this is the lead up. This is exciting. This is the lead up, because September 1st, which will be the very next day, which will be Labor Day, we're going to move over, and my mentor, is going to be there, one of my mentors, Mr. Les Brown, the motivator himself, will be there. That will be September 1st. At the same location, but the huge venue, I think that venue where he's speaking holds over 2,100 people. You don't want to miss it. That'll be that Sunday, September 1st. We'll be at the same location, but he's, of course, in the large venue. We're going to move over there. You don't want to miss Les. Les, if you know, I've talked about Les. I worked with Les when I was a young kid. I had hair on my head. I used to sell cassette tapes for the motivator Les Brown. Of course, that tells you how long ago that was. That they don't even make cassette tapes now. And I remember I was in my 20s. I used to sit back in the auditorium because Les, before he come out, he'd have the boutique out front, and I'd sit there and I'd sell cassettes, and then I'd sneak in when Les comes on stage, and I'd watch him. I remember Les would always say, he'd ask the audience, and I use this myself when I'm speaking. He'd go, "How's everybody doing?" And people would go, "I'm okay, all right." And Les would always say, No, I'm doing better than good and better than most. And then he would say, "Now repeat after me. How you doing?" And the audience would always say, "I'm doing better than good and better than most." And you'll hear me say that, and that's where that came from my mentor, Mr. Les Brown, the motivator himself. So I'm really excited to see Les, and I'm excited to see if he says what I just said when he comes out on stage. That's going to be an exciting event. That will be September 1st. That's in Orlando. That's going to be over at the Doubletree Universal entrance there. It's a huge auditorium there, and it holds over 2,000 people, and I'm looking forward to watching Les. Along with Les that's going to be there, also it's going to be Dr. Peter Rayos and Marco Kalatsky will be there along with one of my mentors, Mr. Les Brown. This is an event you really don't want to miss. We'll talk about it as we get closer to it. And also, that Saturday or Sunday, come on down the day before. We'll have an intimate discussion. Make your reservations. We're going to sit down there in the lounge, and we'll be able to hang out, eat, and have a discussion. The title of that seminar is going to be Let's Talk. So that's good news on that. Also, the new book, we've been getting requests saying, "When's the new book coming out? When's the new book coming out, Don?" We're working on it. Good news. I think the release date, we haven't said it exactly, but I'm thinking sometime in November will be the release date of the new book that's coming out. I don't want to tell you the title. It's going to be a surprise. I think you're going to enjoy the title. Two reasons I don't want to tell you the title right now. Number one, we have the title, but the title could change. We're not done with the book, and that title could change when we complete the book. But I'm excited about it. I think that's something you're really going to enjoy. Have a big build up to that. Okay, let's grab your books. I gave you time to go to the website. If you haven't done it, do it right now. Go to the website, Donald, D-O-N-A-L-D, Donald Archey, D-O-N-A-L-D, Archey, A-R-C-H-E-Y.com. And on that first page, you'll see where it says paperback. Don't worry about the paperback. Hit email. It's the ebook is right next to it. It's always good to have the paperback, but right now, if you want to have it so we can go through this together, the ebook, you'll have it immediately. Okay? Now, let's go open your books, and let me see where we're going to start. We're going to start over on page 124, and this is going to be Chapter 10. Now, we've covered a lot. Now, we're heading toward the end of the book. These next few attributes, these next few steps that I'm going to lay out with you is extremely important. Let me tell you why. You can mess up some of the other steps, but these next few steps that we're going to go over, these steps you've got to do. These steps you not only need to do, but you need to master them. And there's a couple of them. And if you notice on chapter 10, it says your past is not the past. It is the springboard to your future. That's a powerful, powerful title of the chapter. If you look right up underneath it, it says, the only mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. Henry Ford. Let me read that again to you. Your past, it is the springboard to your future. Henry Ford wrote, the only mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. Now, a lot of times your past, instead of being a springboard to the future, and what do I mean? People say, Don, what do you mean that your past is a springboard to your future? Your past experiences tells you what not to do. And what I was using an example, and I was working with a consulting company, and one of the employees were promoted. And the reason they got promoted is because another of the employee was terminated. And as I was coaching the one that got promoted, I said to them, I said, you've learned something now. You can learn from the person that got terminated on what not to do. And that way you don't need to make the mistakes. There's two ways of learning. Learning by making mistakes on your own, choices and decisions, or you can learn from watching other folks make choices and decisions that were not beneficial. So there's two ways of learning. And as I was coaching her, I said, now you have learned what not to do in the corporate world. Does that make sense to you? You can learn from other folks' mistakes, or you can learn from your mistakes. And I'll be real candid with you. It's a lot easier to learn from other folks' mistakes instead of you making the mistakes. Learning from others. Yes, you're going to make your mistakes without learning from others. But why not pick that up? Why not learn from other folks' mistakes? Now, on the flip side, you can learn from other folks' accomplishments by watching them and duplicating what they do that's successful. That's how you learn, and that's where wisdom comes in. So I don't want to go too fast, but this is all part of the attributes and steps to being happy. Learning, letting go the past, let your past be a springboard to your future. Don't let the past determine your future. Listen, so many folks get caught up in the past, and because of past failures, you surrender and you give up. I come to tell you that your past mistakes, your past failures are not failures. Failure is not failure till you accept failure as failure. Einstein said doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is insanity. So one must fail to succeed. Let me say that again. Failure is not failure till you accept failure as failure. In order to succeed, one must first fail. And sometimes you've got to fail multiple times. At least I know I have. But you learn from those experiences and you learn what not to do. That's why it's so important to use your past as a springboard to your future, which makes it a powerful title. This is a powerful chapter. Go down and at the beginning in the previous chapter, I shared the uttermost happiness visualization for your happiness, which we talked about, to be able to visualize what you're doing before you actually do it. You have to see yourself doing what it is you desire to do before you do it. I was watching the Olympics right now, and some of the stories that they tell on the athletes as they're participating in the Olympics. But I just want to share something with you. And you listen to some of these stories. Some of these athletes, these Olympians, dreamed of what they're doing when they were a child. When they were 6 and 7 years old, they visualized themselves in the Olympics. And now they're 21. They saw what they were wanting to do and what they wanted to accomplish as a child. This is what I'm talking about, visualizing what it is you want to do before you do it. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. If you conceive it, if you believe it, then you can achieve it. Yes, there's going to be trials and tribulations. Yes, you're going to have failures along the way. But just like the Olympian, they saw themselves doing what it is they're doing right now when they were a child. It's a powerful, powerful, powerful tool that we have that a lot of us are unaware of, and to utilize visualization, to visualize what it is you want to do before you do it. That's powerful. But, and I spoke about that in great detail in the book because it's a powerful tool that one must have to reach happiness, to reach your goals, dreams, and aspirations. You have to see it. We talked about goals, and we're going to go over that in the next episode of the podcast. But I want to get back to this, the springboard. The past is not, is the springboard to your future. By recalling, and this is on page 125, by recalling our strengths and capabilities from the past, our positive thoughts can shed light on the opportunities that await us at the present and it will be helped in the future. What do I mean by that? Recalling the strengths and capabilities from the past. This is what I'm talking about. See, the past is going to give you two things. It's going to give you the past of your past mistakes, or what didn't happen, but also there's your past. And it says right here, you have strengths in your past. There's things that took place in the past that were strengths, and you need to recall that. Just as you recall the failures, you need to recall the strengths. It's the opportunities, and that's a springboard. What is a springboard? I was watching once again the Olympics, and I know everybody go Team USA. Everybody's a lot of people are tuned into it, but we were watching this the divers, and they were diving on the hard platform, but they also were diving on the springboard. And if you watch them, they jump up and down, and wow, it's a spring. It lifts them. That's what your past you want your past to do, is lift you to the future. It's a springboard to the future. And that's what that's the hypothesis of the springboard theory, that your past springboards you to the future. If you go over to the next page, there's a quote by Alexander Bell. Do you see that right at the on 126? It says, "Before anything else, preparation is the key to success." Before anything else, preparation is the key. This goes back to your visualization and seeing yourself doing what it is you want to do before you do it. This goes back to your past mistakes, your past choices and decisions that didn't work out, getting back up and doing it again. Because it's all about preparing yourself, preparation for the future. The next step, the next goal. What are you going to do now? That didn't work. So you now know what didn't work. You can do something different. Don't do the same thing over again and expecting different results. That's a powerful statement that Alexander Bell did. Now, let's go over to the next page and you can follow along with me. 128, it says at the very top, these are some of the things that we want to deal with. It says, like, write that experience, emotion, thoughts, or feelings in the first column. Now, I gave you a little exercise to do here. You'll see the exercise where I want you to perform a relatively quick yet helpful activities. Take a piece of paper and a pen and draw three columns on it and write freely with your hand. Close your eyes and then think about the one thing from the recent or former past that made you happy. What I'm trying to get you to do, and as you see, I given exercises all throughout the book because, listen, I told you a long time ago in the first episode, you can't get something for nothing. You have to do something. all of a sudden say, once you're done, say, oh, now I'm happy. That's not going to happen. There's some work you got to put in. So throughout the chapters, I'm putting little workshops that you can do to help you. One of the things you want to do is this springboard to your future is you need to know what took place in the past that didn't work. So you need to get a piece of paper and write this out clearly. What didn't work? What did I do? Why didn't it work? What's the emotions behind it? What happened? And then don't do that again, and then you have a clear picture of where you want to go. And that's what we're talking about in this little exercise, your mind. The mind, listen, we talked about this before. The mind, scientists have come up with, psychologists have come up with, the mind is like a magnet. It will attract the most dominating thought that's in it. The mind is like a magnet. It will that's in it. What does that mean, Donald? That means that if your thoughts, you have control of your thoughts. If your thoughts are negative, you're going to attract negative things. You're going to attract negative people. You're going to attract negative situations. On the flip side, if your thoughts are positive, you will attract positive things. You will attract positive people. You will attract positive situations. The mind is like a magnet. So how do you want to focus your thoughts? You have control of your thoughts. Your thoughts don't have control of you. This is all about the theories of being happy. And this isn't something I'm coming up with. This is something that's been going on that great thinkers for centuries, Plato, Aristotle, have all talked about it. Great thinkers, that thoughts are things. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. Your thoughts, you have control of your thoughts. Your thoughts don't have control of you. Now, let me share something with you. I did not understand this concept. No one told me as a child that I control my thoughts. So if you don't like the way you're feeling, change the way you're thinking. No one told me that. No one told me I can change the way I think. I thought my thoughts just came randomly, and I had no control of them, but I'm sharing with you that you have control of your thoughts. Now, I also want to let you know that all of a sudden that you find this, you discover this theory that you have control of your thoughts aren't all of a sudden going to go, oh, okay, I'll let you run the show. It's going to fight you. But you have control of your thoughts. This is a powerful chapter. If you go down here, like I said, if you turn the page over to 130, and we'll conclude this chapter, but I need you to do the exercise in the chapter. There's quite a few exercises in this particular chapter that I want you to do. A philosopher on page 130, you can read it. It says, philosophers concluded that whether or not we learn something from the past, there is one thing that we truly learn. Wisdom is thinking and acting using knowledge, experience, common sense, understanding, and insight. That's powerful. That's how you obtain wisdom. It's from your past. And that's why you want to use your past as a springboard to your future. I hope you enjoyed that chapter. There's more in there. I don't want to get into a lot of this right now because I need you to do the exercises. Thomas, on page 132, you're going to see where there's another quote by Thomas S. Morrison. The past is behind. Learn from it. The future is ahead. Prepare for it. The present is here. Live in it. I use in my seminars a hypothesis. When you're in the car driving, your windshield is this big, but your rear view mirror is this big. Why is that? The windshield is this big, and your rear view mirror is this big. I'll tell you why that is. Because it's more important on where you're going, you see where I'm headed with this, than where you've been. And you glance in your rearview mirror to see what you just passed. In life, it works the same way. The mind. It is more important on where I'm going, But I need that rear view mirror. I need that because I need to learn from my past so that I'll use that past experience as a springboard to move forward. That's what we mean by your past, using the past as a springboard to your future. Okay. Now, I know some of you are writing and taking some notes down, and I know you're going to send me some emails, so send that. Confucius says, study the past. This is on page 1. I just want to read that. On page 132, he said, study the past if you would divine the future. Study the past to divine the future. Powerful quotes in here. But that's that chapter. Okay, let's go over to chapter 11. You guys following me? Chapter 11. It's the next chapter, and 137. And this chapter is entitled Letting Go of Resentment. Remember I told you when I first started the podcast today, I said there's some steps, these steps here, these are mandatory. There's some of the other ones that you don't need to master. But these few steps here, you've got to master them. And this chapter is all about letting go of resentment. Now, resentment, and we talked about this in a previous chapter about the 2 envelopes. You remember? We talked about at birth, God, the Creator, gave us 2 envelopes. One envelope marked the key to happiness. These are the attributes. And the other envelope marked what's going to happen if you don't take control of your mind. So you have 2 of these envelopes. This particular chapter is talking about letting go of resentment. Now, this is intertwined with your past, letting the springboard to the future. Your past is a springboard to your future. Now, in your past, there's some things that have taken place that has caused some resentment. You cannot be happy and have hatred and resentment in your heart at the same time. That's just like it. You can't go to a waterfall faucet and drink water and cold and hot water comes out at the same time. That's impossible. You can't go to an apple tree and eat apple and orange off the same tree. That's impossible. So you can't be happy and have misery in your heart or hatred toward other people. This is getting a little uncomfortable, I know, but we got to talk about it. Because the name of the book is The Key to Unlock Happiness, and what I've done is giving you the keys. There's more than one key. There's things we've got to do to reach the elusiveness that we've all been searching for, which is happiness. You cannot have happiness with resentment and hatefulness in your heart. Now, I'm speaking from experience because in this chapter, I'm going to talk to you about, and you're going to read the story of me meeting another one of my mentors, Zig Ziglar, in the Houston, Texas area many, many years ago. Once again, I was in my 20s. And once again, it was someone that I had the opportunity to sell cassette tapes for when they were making cassette tapes. And I never will forget the time that I met Zig. And I met Zig at a conference. I was working in sales in an office in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Zig was doing a conference in the Texas. I don't remember the exact city, but it was in Texas. I want to say it was around the Houston area. This is many, many years ago. I remember Zig having the book, I'll See You at the Top. If you don't have that book, you'd want to go get it. Powerful book. Great motivator, sales trainer. And I remember the first time I encountered Mr. Zig Ziglar and all his friends. You'll read the story, and I just call him Zig now because he says, my friends call me Zig. Just call me Zig, Don. It was in the elevator, and I happened to be staying at the same hotel that Zig Ziglar was staying at. And I saw him, and my heart was pounding. I go, wow, that's Zig Ziglar. And you'll read the story in the book. where I went down every day. I went down to have breakfast, and I saw Zig there, and he was with a whole lot of people. And the next day I went down, and every day he was there at the same time, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He was there at the same time. And I would go down and sit there every day and see him. And then I made up in my mind one day, I said, I'm going to go over and I'm going to meet Mr. Zig Ziglar. And and you read the story. And I want you to read the story because it's a fascinating story. But the last day of the convention, I finally had the courage to go over and meet Zig. And Zig talked to me with that country, I think, if you ever go on YouTube and you'll watch some of Zig's training, has a powerful, strong voice, but it's a southern swing to it. I mean, because Zig was from Alabama. And Zig invited me over to his table that night, and he talked to me, and the thing is, he talked to me about this resentment. Zig was a very spiritual man. And this book, this chapter here is all about resentment. We've all had encountered things in our past that has affected us in a positive way, and it's affected us in a negative way. Some more than others. I share examples of my life in this book where I have been hurt, where people have said things or done things to me that have hurt me, and I'm sure you have too. I'm not that unique. And through the years, we build up resentment. It builds, it boils. I had resentment toward the corporate world. When I was with Zig, and at the time I was in sales, I had a natural ability, the gift, I guess, people tell me, from God to gab. I took to sales like a duck takes to water, with no formal training, and became one of the best at it. And when I was talking to Zig, Zig told me the only way you're going to get to this next level of selling and closing is you're going to have to learn to let go of these resentments that you have in your heart. Zig sat with me for over 2-3 hours that night. Never met me in my life, but he saw that resentment in me. And he told me, and I didn't catch on to what he was saying till years later about that resentment. He said, you'll never reach your full potential of happiness and growth in sales or in life with that resentment that's in you. So this is what this chapter is all about. Letting go of resentment. Those pains and struggles, that's misuse, that folks misused you, mistreated you, took advantage of you, hurt you, whether it was emotional, physical, or spiritually. We, and I say we because I was in the same predicament. Even when Zig told me it, I didn't grasp the concept until 20 some odd years later, to let go of these resentments that I had toward people and toward the corporate world. I would be one of the best salesmen at the top of the board, yet I would never get promoted. Why? Of course, they had their reasons. Of course, I didn't agree with them. And I built up a lot of resentment. So now I got all of this resentment from childhood. I've got all the resentment from the corporate world. And as Zig was telling me, you're not going to reach your full potential unless you let it go. So in this chapter on resentment, we've got to learn to let it go. And I wrote some exercises that you can do in this chapter, but this is a very important chapter. Lou Gossett Jr. wrote on page 139 in this chapter, the worst resentment anyone can have is one you feel justified for keeping. That's powerful. I had resentments from a child all the way up to 40 years old. And of course, I justified it. I justified not the resentment toward people for what they've done to me. And I'm sure you have too. And as Lou writes, the worst resentment anyone can have is the one that you justify to keep it. And of course, I justified to have that hatred toward that person because of what they had done or what they had said. You got to let it go. Another quote on the next page. Instead of wasting my energy on hate and resentment, I'd rather invest my energy in love and contentment. Karen Salone. That's a powerful statement. Instead of wasting my energy on hate and resentment, I'd rather invest my energy in love and contentment. Now, as you go through this chapter, and there's exercise that I want you to do, and it can be painful, but we need to do it. We need to get another sheet of paper, and we need to write down and think back of the pain that you've been through. I need you to go back and think about those times that, and I was a small child. I'm a small man now, but I was a small child when I was growing up. I think I only weighed maybe 110 pounds. So, of course, I was a prime target to be bullied, beat up, talked about. These are all things that was in my mind that created resentment that I had to let go of. You've got some experiences. We all have some experiences in our past. So what I need you to do is to get a clean sheet of paper. And I need you to write down and put a line in that paper. And on the left-hand column, I want you to go back and I want you to write down the things that have hurt you in the past that you're still holding on to. And go back as far as you can. And I need you to write them down. This is going to be painful because I'm not sharing something with you that I didn't do. The smallest of things, and things are going to come back. Things are going to come back. Shut your eyes and just breathe and think back. And they're going to start coming. I want you to write them down. Write them all down. Then once you write them all down, and then you're going to see in the book, and I don't have time to go through step by step, but I need you to read the book and do these step by step. But the bottom line is, once we get all of these down, I want you to say a statement that this is my past, and I'm letting it go. And then I want you to ball the paper up. Sometimes people burn it. And that's all of that is gone. Let it go. The Bible says, and I don't know if it's in this chapter or the next chapter that we're going to get to here. And I'm just going through here to see where it's at in here. Here. Go to page 157. See, in order to clear out all of this junk that's holding us down, that's causing you to be up at night, and when you go to sleep, when you go to bed at night, instead of laying there for 20, 30, 40 minutes, some people have been told lay there for hours. I used to be one before I could go to sleep because your mind is racing on things that took place in the past or whatever happened. We need to end that. And we need to forgive people. No one's perfect. The Bible says not one is good. So we're all imperfect. And if you're looking for perfection in someone, you're not going to find it. You're not going to find perfection in yourself. So the Bible says, judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. Powerful, powerful. That was in Luke 6:37, and that's on page 157, and we're getting to the next chapter. And I know this isn't that rah, motivational speaking that you've seen over the last 8-9 episodes on the podcast, but this is very important. We cannot get to this happiness without letting go of some things. And then the next chapter we're going to go to is chapter 12. And that's on page 157. Turn over there to me with that for me quickly. We're running out of time, and I just want to go over this with you. Forgiveness. Now we talked about the springboard. Your past is your springboard to your future. We talked about resentment. And we're going to conclude with forgiveness. And we're going to do one more, and we're going to talk about compassion. But I want you to go to chapter 12 on forgiveness. This goes back to the resentment, and I had already touched on it earlier, but I want to go a little bit in depth. We've got to forgive people. We've got to forgive those that have hurt us in the past. It goes back to the water fountain analogy that I said earlier. Hot water and cold water cannot come out of the same faucet. We can't be happy. You'll never have, and I hate to use the word never, but sometimes you got to use the word never. You're never going to find that elusive secret, that elusiveness to happiness if you have hatred in your heart. That contradicts happiness. Love and hate is the opposite. So what I've got to do in order to reach the full potential of this secret to happiness, this elusiveness that we've all been looking for, which is just to be happy, is I've got to forgive some people. Forgiveness. I've got to forgive those that have hurt me. I've got to forgive those that have harmed me. I got to forgive those that had hidden agendas or ulterior motives to whatever practices that was going on between us. I share this in my seminars. Not everyone that says they love you. Not everyone who says they're your friend is your friend. And this is where wisdom comes in and enlighten. But the bottom line is, you can't make everyone happy, but you can forgive everybody. Let me say that again. You can't make everyone happy, but you can forgive everybody. Not everybody's going to be your friend, but you can forgive everybody, and you've got to forgive people. As we go through this chapter, there's some exercises I want you to do again, and it involves writing things down. You've got to write down things that people have that have harmed you, that have mistreated you in whatever capacity. And then you've got to forgive them. You've got to forgive them and move on. And I want you to go through the chapter on that and do those exercises that I put out. And then we get into anger. There's some anger that takes place. Once again, you can't be happy and angry at the same time. That just doesn't work. So we got to get rid of this. In that chapter, actually, is where I tell the story of Zig. So we've done that. And there's a lot in there that I need you to do. I'm not going to get into it now because you have the book on the email. There's a lot of homework I need you to do. And there's a lot of soul searching that's going on here in these last 3 chapters. There's some things happening that I need you to bring back. And I call it soul searching. That's going to eliminate a lot of these problems that we're having as far as your anger and resentment and forgiving people. Then we're gonna come to the chapter 13, and I want you guys to go over there. We're gonna end it on a little lighter note. Because it's been kind of but we had to do it. We had to do it. We had to do it. We had to go through this to get to where we're at now and to find that happiness. And I told you guys when we first started, you got to put something in it to get something out of it. You can't just read the book and then set it down and then all of a sudden you're going to be happy. That's not how it works. But we're going to end it, this one on a little bit more lighter note. Generosity and compassion. And chapter 13. Chapter 13. Are you there yet? It's chapter 13. And the title of that chapter is Generosity and Compassion. The quote at the very top kind of sets the stage for this chapter. And this is a wonderful chapter. Now, I'm going to read it to you. Now this I say to you, he who sows springly will also reap springly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must do just as he has purpose in his heart or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Generosity. We'll start with the generosity. You know, folks say that when you say generosity, you think of financial. That is being able to be generous with your finances. And that's a good thing. But sometimes we're not in a position to really give financially. But what we are able to give is a smile. That's generosity. A smile on your face to uplift someone that has a frown on their face. That's generosity. A pat on the back to someone that you see that's having a tough time with maybe in their work. They see that maybe the boss is kind of hounding them, and maybe they're walking in the hallway with their head down, and just to put your arm around them and say, it's going to be okay. That's generosity. Generosity, maybe volunteer and go down maybe to the boys club and girls club and help kids with their homework after school. That's generosity. Maybe going to the homeless shelter, the food bank, and handing out food and serving food to those that are less fortunate. That's generosity. This could go on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all the things that I'm naming has nothing to do with money. Yes, if you're in a position to give some money to those that are in need of it, yes, do it. And for those of you, if you've ever been down here in South Florida, I think we have a pretty large, I don't know the numbers, but we have a pretty large number of homeless. And you'll see them. And I have a little change in my car. And when you stop at the stoplight, they'll come up to your car. And some people are so mean that they'll roll up the window as this person is in need of something. And I'll put a little change in the cup. But what I'm getting to the point is, see, we don't know what caused that person to be on the streets and homeless. We don't know what situation caused them to be where they are. The Bible talks about, and when the parable of Jesus was saying to the disciples, and the disciple, he said, when you didn't come to see me when I was in jail. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was thirsty, you didn't give me water. When I had no clothes, you didn't clothe me. And this is a parable. And the disciples said, Jesus, when were you ever homeless? And when were you ever hungry? When did you ever need water? And he said, Jesus replied, when it was one of them, the less of them, that was me. That's powerful. When you see someone down and out, and you're in a position to do something to help them and you don't, that's a lack of compassion. And with compassion brings happiness. It brings joy. So we're going to end on that, and I want you to take that and read that chapter. There's some things in there that you need to go over. The secret to happiness, if you look on page 178, it says the secret to happiness, you see, is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. Socrates said that. The secret to happiness is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. Socrates. Well, we've had a wonderful time. I hope you enjoyed it. There's a lot in there. Finish it up. Write down some notes. And then we get into the final one. I wanted to talk more about the compassion, just being able to give. That's on one of the last chapters in there. And then we get into the ending of it. But we'll be back next week. Do the homework on that. Write down, do the things that I asked you to do in the book. Write down on a piece of paper. We talked about your past. Use the past as a springboard to your future. We talked about resentment. We talked about forgiveness. Those are three powerful things that we need to do to seek this elusive thing called happiness. Once again, it can't be light and dark at the same time. We can't be happy and mean and hateful at the same time. It doesn't work. So we got to get rid of all of the junk. And then the pureness of happiness will come in. The secret, the key to unlock happiness is in the book. Happiness is a state of mind. It's a state of mind. You're happy when you say you're happy. You're successful when you say you're successful. Don't let society determine what creates happiness for you. You're the one that determines what makes you happy. And happiness is found in here. Happiness is found here. Happiness is a state of mind. And that, my friend, never give up on your dreams, never surrender, never say never. It's not over as long as you're breathing. Keep the faith. Reach for the stars. A great philosopher once said, if I shoot for the stars and I fall short, I'm still amongst the clouds. That's a powerful statement. Hang in there. When you fall, get back up. Fall on your back, not on your face, so you can see your way up. And keep the faith. It's possible. No matter what goes on in life, it's possible. As Les Brown says, it's possible. Your dreams, goals, aspirations are possible. Never surrender. Never give up. Never say never. It's possible. You guys have a fantastic time, and I'll see you next time, okay?